Hello and welcome to this lecture where we'll go into Introduction to SQL and using DuckDB for that. And we'll go into DuckDB Local UI. Here, this lecture will go into some basic CRUD operations that you can get the feel of what can you do in SQL. And CRUD operations means create, read, update, and delete. But we will come back later on to more CRUD in details, and later on also connect Python to CRUD operations in DuckDB. But for this lecture, it's just to get some navigation around in SQL and get the feel of how the SQL language works, how it works with databases, etc. I hope that this will be really interesting to you. Let's move directly into the code. Here I am in Visual Studio Code, and let's take out a terminal. We have a terminal. And starting with, we want to create a database. I will call this DuckDB-UI jokes.sql. And this one opens up a browser that looks like this. Or actually, I misspelled. I didn't want the jokes.sql. So Control D to close it down. Yes, now it's closed down. I don't want this because I want to close it down. Instead, I want to have DuckDB-UI jokes.duckdb. Yes. Okay. And it opens up this local host, and you can see there's a jokes.duckdb. And if you're in a GitHub repository or Git repository and you want to version control, which is very good to do, you version control SQL and SQL scripts. However, the DuckDB and something called .val files shouldn't be git ignored. Make sure to write this, git ignore. If you have a git ignore file already, which you should have, you should do like this, star.val, because these are log files that will be created whenever we change the database, and star.duckdb. It's good to ignore these from version control, and also if you're in Mac, you should also ignore .ds store. Okay, this is for Mac. These are for DuckDB. DuckDB, yes. And also if you have, for example, you're in a Python repo and you work with SQL as well, then you should have all other things for Python. Okay, save this one. Right now I'm not in a Git repository. I'll just close this down, and you can see here there's possibility to work with DuckDB in the CLI directly. You can do like desk, and you can see this is what we get. We have a lot of, you can see DuckDB UI, a database, and we have notebooks. However, we will go into our browser now. This is the local host. I'll go into my browser and increase this one, and we'll create a new notebook. And I will call this SQL introduction. And we'll add a new cell, and you can see it's connected to this database jokes. And now we can use this to create our different things. Let me see. Yes. Let's start with creating our tables. If you take a look into desk, you can see that we don't have a table yet. We should create a table, create table if not exists, funny jokes. Here I'll create ID, integer, primary key. You don't need to understand everything here. I'll explain soon. Jokes or joke text. This should be a varchar. This is for text, and then we have rating is an integer. Okay. This will create a table if it doesn't exist. If not exist means that, okay, if it exists, then we won't get an error. We will just not do anything. This makes this command idempotent. It means that you run it several times and it will produce the same results. Basically, you will have the same output. And you can see here ID, this is a column. It's an integer column and it's a primary key. It means that it is unique. And then we have a joke text, it's a string. And we have rating, it's an integer. Okay, and then you end with a semicolon. Actually, you don't need to end it in semicolon with this notebook. However, it's good to do because we will copy this code into our SQL scripts later on. Okay, I run this one. And it says 0 rows returned in 12 milliseconds. I can run it with Command Enter or Control Enter if you are in Windows, Command Enter if you are in Mac. Or you can click this Run button. And we can create a new cell here. I'll do Alt Enter or Option Enter. And it will run this one and jump into the next cell. Okay. We have created a table. Let's take a look that we have done that. We can do desk again. And now you can see there is a jokes database inside of the schema main. And here we have the name funny jokes. This is the table. And you can see the column names here. We have ID, joke text, and rating. This is the column names. And you have column types, integer, varchar, and integer. As you can see, this is what we defined here when we did this create table. This is part of data definition language. We define what we want. We create this table. Okay. Now let's insert some jokes into this. I can click new cell, add cell here. Actually, I'll add a few cells that we can insert jokes. Insert into funny jokes ID, comma, joke text, comma, rating. We want to insert value into these. Our columns are ID, joke text, and rating, those that we defined before. And what do we want to insert? We want to insert values. Okay. And then here you put in values. You put in the first value corresponds to ID, the second value corresponds to joke text, and the third value corresponds to rating. Here you can have 1, comma. Here's a text or string. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything, right? This is the joke text. We need to end it with a quote. And here we have a rating. Yeah, this was quite fun. Give it an 8. This is how you insert values. If we run this one, syntax error, yeah. Let me see why. Syntax error at near T, line number 5. Okay, line number 5, because they make up everything. Yeah, we need to have semicolon. No. Let me think. Let me debug this and come back. Okay, I found the issue. This was actually quite hard to find. If you run this one, it says syntax error at or near T. Okay, you take a look into here. There's a T here, and actually it's quite stupid with the coloring. It's hard to see, but this is actually green, and then we have black text here. You can see that this quote here stops the string. Here we should have this type of quote, or I have this tick here instead for apostrophe. Okay, why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Now you can see it's a string. If I run this one, yes, it works. And if I run it again, you can see constraint error, duplicate key ID 1 violates primary key constraint because we have made it into primary key. This is totally fine. Yes, However, let me now create some more jokes. I will just copy and paste from the lecture notes. Here I have more jokes, but I will remove the first one here as we already have it inside, and remove this one here. Okay, now you can see 2, 3, 4, and we insert these values. I run this one and you can see it added 3. Now let's just do select star from funny jokes and run this one, and you can see I will actually remove this sidebar here, and now you can see here, actually I will remove, yeah, this is good. You can see this is our data. We have ID 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have here joke text. You can see different joke text, and then we have some IDs here. Okay, let us insert a few more. I'll just copy this from the lecture note as well, paste it in, and basically same here. We insert into funny jokes, joke text, and then rating. We put in some more jokes. And now you can see this one. Let's go and run this here. Select star from funny jokes and run it. And you can see this is the jokes that we have. Okay, these were the insert jokes. What you should do is you should commit these changes as well. Let me show you how to do that. You can see first we have a dot file here. Since we're inserting rows into the database, this log file is here. Okay, let us create a new terminal, and I'll make dir SQL, and here we will have our SQL files. I'll cd into SQL, and inside of SQL I will create touch insert jokes.sql queries.sql. I will have delete, or I will have create table.sql. Let's see, queries update joke.sql and delete.sql. Okay, now you can see here are a few SQL files that we have. What I should do now is to just paste it in. I go from the start. This is for creating table. We go into create table here, save it there. I will do Shift Alt F to do my pretty. You need to have Prettier installed. It's an extension, and you can do Shift Alt F, and it will auto format SQL as well. Okay. And then we have insert jokes here. Let me just copy this one. I copy it here, and then I insert more jokes. I copy the next one here, and then I insert more jokes. I copy this one down here. Okay. And now I will have, let me see, insert jokes. Yeah, exactly. And then we have queries. What do we have? Yeah, we have done select star from funny jokes. Yeah, that is it. As for this, you can see this is how the workflow should be. You create the workflow in your DuckDB Local UI, the notebook, and then you can paste it into the SQL files here. Or you could do the other way around. You could create it in the SQL files and then SQL scripts, and then you can move it over to local UI and test it out. That also works. I will do that since I talked about that. Let's move on. We have inserted jokes. Now we want to do a few queries. What type of queries do I want? I can do select star from funny jokes, and then I will order by the rating. I'll order by the rating. I'll copy this one, add a new cell here, and if I run this one now, you can see, yes, it orders by the rating. Or actually we cannot see it yet. Here we can see it. Here you can see 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. However, maybe you want to order it by descending. Okay. Now it's ascending order. And if I want to have a comment here, I would do Shift Alt A. Shift Alt A, or when you do slash star and then end with star slash, this is a multi-line comment in DuckDB. You can have a order here. And then you could do, and multi-line comments, you can add more comments here, like this. This is multi-line comments. And if you want to, we can do copy this one, Shift Option down or Shift Alt down. And then we have the same here, but we add a descending here. This means descending order. And if you want to have a single line comment, you do dash dash. Okay, here you can have types like descending order. Okay, and I will copy this code. Actually, this is quite nice workflow because here you don't need to copy back from the notebook. Instead, you can just write out the SQL commands SQL commands in the SQL scripts, and then you can just copy over it and you can run it. I will run the new cell here and paste it in. And this is descending order. You can see the comment here. If I run it, it will still run. And if we go to the right, you can see, yes, it's in descending order. Great. However, you can see that it's descending, but 9, 9 right here. But you can maybe choose. You can also like descending on several columns if you want. But I won't go into that details. I'm quite okay with these queries right now. I will go into, let's do some update jokes. Here, let's go into update jokes. And okay, here we can do update funny jokes. And then you do set rating equals to 10, where ID equals 7. For example, here you can see, want to hear a joke about construction. I'm still working on it. Oh, this one is super great. I want to change it to rating 10 instead. You can see 7, it has rating 6. You can see where ID equals 7. And SQL is a declarative language compared to Python, where you write procedural code, what will happen. However, here is what you want, and the database engine will take care of the details. You just say, I want to update the funny jokes table. We want to set the rating equals to 10, where the ID equals 7. Just like that. See my column there, and let's do a comment. Updates rating of the joke with ID 7. I will copy this code here, and I will create a new cell, paste it in, and then I will run it. And now it has updated it, and to see that it works, let's do select from funny jokes, where ID equals 7. And if we run this one, you can see, want to hear a joke about construction. I'm still working on it. And you can see the rating is 10 now. Great. I can copy it in here. I can go into queries to make a comment here after updating joke ID 7. And now finally we'll come into delete. As I said, the CRUD operations: create, read, update, and delete. Create, we have insert. Read, we have query, the select statement. And we have update, we have the update. And delete, we have the delete. Okay, is there a joke that we don't like? There is some jokes, if you look into here. There are some jokes with IDs that are less than 5, right? These two, we want to throw them away. What you do is then select star from funny jokes where rating smaller than 5. Okay, why do I want to do a select statement when I want to delete? This is a safety measure. When we do this, we want to copy it in and make sure that, it's actually these two rows that we get, or actually these rows that we get, that we know that when we're deleting the correct rows. Yes, here I will make a comment on that. Want to delete bad jokes, and to make sure which to delete, do a select first to double check the rows, right? Now I'll copy this one and open a new cell, paste it in here, run it, and you can see 9 and 10 and rating 1 and 2. Perfect. These are the ones that we want to delete. Okay, and then to do that, you can copy these 4, Shift Alt down, copy those, and then you just do delete. Delete from funny jokes where rating is smaller than 5. That is it. Copy this one, go new cell, paste it in, run it, and you can see 2 disappeared. And then just do, there's a quick way to do select star from. You just do from funny jokes and run this one. And you can see, yes, ID 9 and 10 disappeared. You can see all of the ratings are above 4. Cool. Yes, I will add that to the queries as well, that you can do this here, select star, shortcut, and shortcut for select star is to do from funny jokes. This is DuckDB specific. This one won't in many other SQL dialects, just that. Now that we're done, let's make sure that you go back to your DuckDB terminal, and here make sure that you do Control D in Mac and Control C in Windows. Control D, and you can see it's closing down, and you can see connection to DuckDB lost. Now I can just close this down, and you can see that we can try out our jokes.duckdb, jokes.duckdb, describe, and you can see our jokes are there. We can do from funny jokes, and you can see directly here. Why don't we can see we have 8 of them because we have deleted 2, right? So Control D, and I needed when I closed this down, you saw that the dot file disappeared. For some reason, it didn't disappear when I just closed down the DuckDB before, when I closed down the notebook. Okay, but when I closed down this DuckDB here, you saw that the .val disappeared. I did the Control D here as well. And now what's left is for you to commit and push this to GitHub. Okay, in this lecture we've gone through using DuckDB Local UI and gotten into the basics of SQL. Maybe you didn't understand all concepts, but basically we did the CRUD operations: create, read, update, and delete. First we used the DDL command. Create was to actually not create in terms of CRUD. Instead, that create is for creating a table, and then we had insert, which is creating, where we're inserting data, and then we have read, which are the queries with the select statement, and then we have update with the update, and then we had delete with the delete. And we also showed how you could work with SQL scripts. You have SQL scripts in Visual Studio Code where you type out the code and then you can copy paste it into the local UI to see the results. And that is, I believe it's more neat than to work directly in the notebook. And the reason for that is that, in Visual Studio Code and in .SQL files, we can use auto formats such as prettier to make it nicer. And then also you get the SQL code directly and you can divide it into several scripts, which you easily can version control, and that is a huge plus. When you're version controlling it, you have the code stored and you can reuse it later. I hope that you learned a lot in this video, and thank you for watching this video. Thank you. Bye.